Good evening, ladies. Good evening. Good evening. It's so good to be with you here today on DETV's Every Woman Network. And so I am ecstatic that we can come together and have conversations from her perspective. And so my name is Tanya Atkins. I am a Delaware native. I'm an HR professional. And so I am looking forward to the conversation today.
Yes. My name is Taiz Greca. I am a Delaware native as well. Well, I moved here when I was 5, so originally from New Jersey. And I am a tech enthusiast, so I'm excited to have my perspective with this as well.
My name is Heather Cox Code, social media and management for almost 15 years, Delaware native as well. And yeah, this is going to be an amazing. You ladies are amazing. So I'm Dr. Dawn Cherie Paramore. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm a mother. I'm a trauma specialist. So I'm looking to see where we're going in terms of mental health. That's important to me. So I would love to hear conversation about how Senator or Vice President Kamala Harris is going to handle those issues.
Yes.
What are you looking forward to when you think about what the future holds and the path that we have to take to get there?
Yeah. So what I talk about a lot is I just hope that we don't throw everything at her, like the kitchen sink. I know we did that with Obama. There was just so much to do after that last system was in office. I was going to say system, keeping names out of it. I get a little finicky. But throwing the kitchen sink at Obama, at least we got great health care. But there were so many other missed opportunities, especially coming from the Black community. I know a lot. We're hoping that we would get more reparation-like programming and policy making, right, that he may have missed the mark on. But it's not to miss what he actually put in place. So when we're looking at Kamala, I'm hoping that, of all the things that we want her to do, make sure that we focus on where our commonalities are in her platform, because there's a bunch that we would want her to do, right, but it's just not realistic.
It's not realistic in the time. So your thoughts on that?
I mean, I really do like how she brings a lot of diverse groups together.
Yeah.
She is from, her mom was a single mom.
Yes.
Here, right? And her husband, she has a huge eclectic family.
Yes.
Modern family, blended family like myself.
Yeah.
And it's just really nice to see somebody that I actually can see myself and my story in, other than the alternative that we have to work with.
Right.
So I'm really excited because it's going to generate a lot of buzz and excitement, and people actually are able to see, I relate to this person.
Right.
Instead of who can really relate to the billionaire class.
Right.
Not a lot of people.
No.
So I think as a mother, most of us on the couch are mothers. I want to make sure that she speaks to the female perspective.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot on the ballot this year, especially when it comes to feminine rights. So I'm just honestly afraid that if we have the wrong person in office, our rights are going to be taken as women away from us. We're not going to be able to.
Already happened.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, if he gets in office, that's going to be a problem. So it's going to be up to Kamala to really step up and make sure that she's speaking for all of us.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and I'm going to politely push back because I think that's the call to action. We can't leave it only up to Kamala to do the work that has to be done. We have 106 days until the election.
Right.
Yeah. We have to be in the trenches. We have to be telling the stories. We have to be speaking the truth. We have to be talking about last night she raised $81 million at 44,000 women on one call. We are here to do the work with her, and I think it's important. And when we look to the future, we can't do it alone.
So I need you just that part, because most people will look at politicians and think it is their job and their job alone for them to speak for us. And you have a really good point. So what would you say to those viewers out there right now that's like, well, why do I have to do that? It's her job to go hit the trail and get that voice out. How would you encourage them to join? Because there's a lot of ways you can do that. You can pay money. There's a lot of ways.
There are a lot of ways. So you can give money,
right?
You can give your time. You can just talk about it. So when you have someone who might be spewing some negativity or even some misinformation, and we remember the last election, social media, the media in general, was plagued with misinformation. So we have to be ready and armed with the facts. What does she do? What does she stand for? Who does she stand for? And what are we looking to do in the future, right? And I think that we all have to, really lean into the fact that we can't do it alone.
Right.
If we do it alone, we go slowly. If we do it together, we're going to get there. We're going to get there quickly. And we're going to have lasting change. And I think that's what's necessary right now. Like you said, so much is on the line, right? So many of the rights that our ancestors, our family, it wasn't that long ago that we were fighting and in the trenches, fighting for the rights so that everyone could live in the United States and be free. And that's what we're fighting for. Literally, our freedom is on the line. And so I say, if you enjoy your freedom, if you enjoy knowing that you have health care or that you have access to it, if you enjoy all the luxuries that we have when we sit in the United States and we're comfortable and we're protected and we've got the luxuries that so many people around the world don't have, if you enjoy that, then it's time to get involved. I don't care what you do. Just do something. You can't sit on the sideline. 106 days is not a long time. We've got to get moving, which is why we're here tonight.
I'm a member of the D9. I'm a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha. And right now there's a strong push for Black sororities and fraternities, what we call stroll to the pole. So that's our way of coming together. I mean, we all know kind of the different things of different sororities and fraternities, how we haggle each other. But this is not the time for that. So we're pulling together and we're strolling to the polls. And that's how we're handling that. But I just wonder, like, what are some of the grassroots efforts that we can do in our communities to get that out? Especially if you have something to say, you want your voice heard.
Well, I know with Gen Z and Gen Z particularly, I mean, they are so involved with anything political, anything involving the earth and the world. And they are just so, like, they are so keyed in right now. And I did read this, I think it was an article. There was multiple articles. One, it was like, since the last election, over 20 million boomers have passed away, right? So you got to think about the shifting demographics. And then with Gen Z now, by the time when the election comes in November, there's going to be 44 million Gen Zs able to vote. I mean, just with the shifting demographics, I feel as though that people want somebody like Kamala to like have to, that somebody is like it's parallel to life. They can actually see themselves in our leader and not like, you know, the person that we shall not say his name.
And so I think with that statistic, I mean, that's a large number. We have to make sure that those young professionals, those young, you know, soon to be graduates that have already turned 18, that you're registered to vote and that you're there and you understand what's lying on it, right? There is actually something at risk. And so we have to make sure that we educate them. And not just, you know, yes, the Gen Zers, but I think those who don't necessarily think that it's time. Well, you know, it's not time until it's time, and it's time right now.
Exactly.
Right. And so how do we educate and make sure people who are maybe on the fence, right? We're talking about, you know, not just speaking straight to those who already support. If you know, are not sure who you're going to vote for, we need to speak to those people too. What would you say if someone is not sure who they're voting for? What would you say right now?
I mean, I said, well, research Project 2025. That's exactly what I would say to them. It's going to strip a lot of people's rights. And I mean, it's already, just go look up the Heritage Foundation, A.D. Vance being the VP. I mean, come on. Like they want to take us back to somewhere that we don't want to go.
1,000%. Good old time. 1,000%.
Like, we don't want that. No, absolutely. And neither does the younger generation.
So now you're moving into a topic.
Right.
Yes.
But before we get there, I'm not sure if you watched the Republican National Convention and Trump's speech. So specifically when they heard Biden's name, the audience started booing. And he was like, no, you can't boo. He's like, we need to allow them into our community. We need to allow them to understand we're trying to unite America. So when you were talking about how can we be a grassroots campaign, the younger voters, you don't have to worry about. They're already passionate, right? And then Black women, we already know you don't have to worry about our community because we already go out and we vote. But what we need to do as Black women as well, and I guess the entire country, is to take that opportunity to reach across the aisle. Are we really trying to engage with people that aren't like us? Because those are the people in those landlocked states, that should be our focus. The East Coast is fine. The West Coast is fine. It's that middle ground where those electoral college votes will matter. Like you said, we can't shift them. It's the middle ground and then the southern states, that L shape in the middle of our country. If we can't figure out how to break into them, not just focusing on the younger ones, but break into them and understanding this is our fight. We're thinking about like race.
Yep.
Back in the day, you know, before it was like a racial thing, it was poor versus rich, the haves and the have-nots, and it became racial. But literally, this is the haves and the have-nots, even though people aren't seeing that.
Yeah.
And you literally have terror and chaos versus like hope and growth, right?
Like, how do you go across the aisle when they spit such vitriol, such hatred? It's like the paradox of forget. It's like we're too nice. We allow people. We let things roll off our shoulders.
Yeah.
Let it go under the rug. How do you mean? It's the paradox of tolerance.
Yeah.
Right. It's tolerant.
Yeah.
Right? And because we're too tolerant, they can wipe us out. So how do you cross the aisle when the other party is for the Proud Boys?
Right. But see, that's the thing. Like, okay, so one thing is, if you can talk about policy, you can cross that aisle.
1,000%.
Like, there is policy that Trump has put into place that I have no problem with. He put into place that if a person wants to immigrate to this country and they are from South America, they need to have documents that every country they march through denied them. So let's just say if you're saying that Colombia is bad and you end up in Venezuela, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to the U.S. No, you're in Venezuela now. So live there. But we're allowing caravans to come through South America and just say we're going to the U.S., which is fine. But literally, if your home is so bad, why are all the other 12 countries you march through bad as well? So I did not disagree with that policy. So when I talk to people on the other side of the aisle, I'm like, I get it. Trump had some really good policy. He tried to make what he could better, but he also created chaos. And you see what the country had on that. So it's like, do you want someone who can just put in good policy and create chaos? Or do you want someone who can put in good policy and then join us together? So it's really, you have to understand more than just what CNN is saying, right? You have to really take a chance to be like, okay, if I had to like the other party, if I had to like the Republican Party, let me find one policy I agree with. Like, that opens the door. You know what I mean?
At one point I was married, my ex-husband, he's deceased now, but he was Republican.
Yes.
And so at the time I was independent. So I was like, you know, I'm so liberal here and there. But then at one point I was talking to someone and it said, you know, you need to get off the fence, they told me. So I had to make a decision based on where my views were. I had to make a decision, whether it be, you know, Democrat or Republican. And I chose Democrat. But with that being said, we had a very divided house. Now, there are some things that we came together on in views that we agreed, but then there were some things that are just fundamentally different. And on top of it, we were interracially married. So there was a lot on the table.
Yeah.
So I think listening and making sure like you're truly hearing what the other person has to say, because if their opinion is different than yours, okay, I can respectfully hear what you have to say, but there's some parts I might disagree with.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's okay to disagree.
It's absolutely okay to disagree. I think that is going to be one of Kamala's strong points. I think when we look at just her disposition, her demeanor, the fact that she's well-versed in a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
One of those being the United States. She has been in office for almost 4 years, right? And so she knows the policies that have been put forth. She knows the policies that haven't made it to the table, but are good policies. So I think that is an absolutely pro for her, that she's going to be able to bring us together and unite us.
Yeah. Like something that's unpopular from her brand, let's say, in the Black community is how tough she was on crime. But guess who that will be popular with? That middle L I'm talking about.
Right.
They want someone that's tough on crime. And her being a prosecutor, she knows how to talk to that person and to that population.
Yeah, I think, but do they really care about law and order anymore when they're,
No, they like that tough on crime.
We do.
Literally, they like that tough on crime language, because when you're talking about bringing people here that immigrate and you're going to deport them forever, that's tough on crime. Or the immigrants that are just robbing and killing everyone because everyone has mental issues that's coming across the border, according to Trump. Being tough on crime. So if she says, like, as a prosecutor, I was tough on crime and I got dinged for it, and that's okay because I want to make sure our communities are safe, that will ring a bell with the middle states.
But that's just it. She was doing her job. Her job was to prosecute.
Yeah.
And I know, like, there's a lot of people that I know that are not for her because they said, well, you're prosecuting Black men and then you're just trying to take Black men down. Her job was to prosecute.
Yeah.
It didn't matter what your color was. It just so happened that they were Black men.
Yeah.
But she did her job. But as a woman, you're doing your job.
Yeah.
Why are you getting dinged for doing your job?
So she did her job as a prosecutor in California, but also created a reentry program that had a 10% recidivism rate when California had a 53% recidivism rate.
Right.
So not only did she do her job, she saw the impact it was having on our community and tried to fix it.
And I will say, though, because you saying that jogged a memory, that a lot of people thought that she was soft on crime because of that.
Right. Yeah.
But then she kind of reworded it and was like, no, I'm not soft on crime. I'm smart on crime.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
You're going to have those low-level offenders like going through re-education programs and all of that instead of, just being in jail and not getting the help that they need. So, smart on crime.
So speaking of doing your job, can we just take a moment and recognize President Biden for actually doing his job?
Yeah.
How many times have we been in organizations or situations where leadership needs to change because of pride or ego that person will not relinquish or set the next person up for success? So we've got a situation where it's time, something.
Yes.
Clearly he agrees. And he's done that with such grace, such pride, such integrity.
Right.
And so when we look across the aisle and we see, okay, the other person that's running, you can't even call your vice president, right?
No.
You can't call your vice president to say, run with me. It's not an option. So when we talk about who do I want to lead me, who do I want to lead us into this next era, it has to be someone with integrity.
Yeah.
It has to be someone, who is going to stand on the principles of leadership. It's important.
And truth.
Yes, absolutely.
Major truth.
Yeah.
If they don't stand on truth, we have the person literally just constantly lying and lying and lying.
Yeah.
I feel like the whole entire country has been gaslit for years now.
Yeah.
So I just think truth and honesty, I think, is what is gonna for the vice president for sure. And I mean that's apparent.
Yeah.
Right. She hides that,
And she served as a VP aftermath the insurrection.
Yes.
Yeah. Aftermath of COVID.
Yes.
And then not to just highlight, obviously, she is a woman of color. So just knowing that, she already has a host of experiences throughout her life that have prepared her for what she's about to go through now, which the road will not be easy because this country had its own debt to settle with its history, right? But she seems like she's well prepared. Biden obviously prepared her through his experience as well. So I'm just trying to figure out really what do we think she should look for in the VP?
Ooh, that's a good question.
It is. Really good question. I'm just glad Biden dropped out.
And not a name.
The way that he did after the RNC, because all they did was just talk about Biden.
Yes.
This the whole time.
Yeah.
And then boom, right when that was done, he dropped. Now and it's just invigorated and taken over the
aging is a gift. Aging is a gift.
Yes.
It is a gift. I'm like, yes, Biden is president at his age. And I'm not campaigning for him to rejoin.
Right.
But I'm just saying aging is a gift. And it's like, Trump is old.
He is now.
I'm just going to put it out there.
He chose a young VP. But it's just one of my sources, Wendy Okofo, she said that she showed this clip on her Instagram and it shows the VP or his running mate and saying, oh, I can't stand Trump. And then on the next, oh, he's the best thing since sliced bread. So I think he was trying to go for that vote by choosing a young running mate.
Yes.
But
well, he's also he's like one of besties with a Heritage Foundation person because he had left his his Venmo receipt open and all of his contacts. So everybody saw all of his
payments.
That's a gypsy.
Oh, man.
That's a gypsy.
Yeah. So who would you like to see for a VP pick?
I'm not sure exactly who I would like to see, but I know that I want to make sure that is a good balance for her. And that is just that I don't know the people that they're naming now well enough, right? Because you always want that balance. But I do know, and I hate to say it, that I am not a fan of California, so new stuff.
Yeah.
Well, just because of what's going on in the state, it would not be a strength for her to bring him along.
Well, and I think we need, two people from different spaces, areas, states. Okay, so as we wrap up, final thoughts, anything that, is important to know as we lean into the next 106 days, what do we have? Final thoughts, one word.
One word?
That was
I was just gonna say reach across the aisle.
I'd say just keep that buzz going. Buzz.
Unity. Yeah.
And I'm going to go with mobilize. It's on mobilize. It's time to move. So thank you, ladies, for being
thank you.
here. This has been a great conversation, and we're off to the races.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.